Hey you, baja the volume. Baja the volume. Okay, good morning, guys. We are gonna begin today's class. I would like for you guys to go to Google Classroom. I posted an introductory activity in Google Classroom, so please go to Google Classroom, and it should be labeled as November 3rd introductory activity.
Miss Macarons.
Yes, Miss Nagara dice que ya puse mi email y me sign up algo así, otro account, y no sé por qué no agarra.
Did you do the activity? Are you finished with the activity? Or
No, Miss.
okay, let me share the activity then.
Middle answer, Miss.
Share the activity then. 1 second. Because I didn't want you guys to make an account. Okay, so let me share this tab instead.
A mí sí me agarró, Miss.
Were you able to do it?
Miss, we need to make an account.
It asks you guys.
Solo que hagan preguntas solo de que hagan make un account y yo los meteré para el Word.
Okay.
No necesariamente necesitas un account.
This is the activity that I had for you guys there. Can you guys see clearly? But let me try and figure it out. I'm trying to do adding some apps to the Google Classroom because I found a website where you can link things to Google Classroom. So this activity is a hang the man activity that I had found. So now we're gonna take like maybe 1 or 2 minutes to do this, right? So you guys know how to play hang the man, right? Okay, so what letter do I choose first?
Ya lo adiviné. Y.
J? No.
Es.
S?
Sí. Ya sé.
Repeat again.
O, Miss.
O? Okay.
I.
E?
E.
A?
E. L.
L?
X
F?
for Panda, Miss.
T.
T?
R.
And R. Okay, very good. So that's just a little activity that, well, now I need to see how I'm gonna fix that so you guys are able to do it. But if not, then we can just do them like me sharing this screen. So let me go back to the PowerPoint. Share this tab instead. Okay. Sharing Google Classroom to Google Meet. Share this tab instead. And then it would be okay. Okay, guys. So now today, what we are going to be doing, I had asked you guys to have at least one graph sheet for today, and to have well, we're gonna be working with the last questions of the first activity. But just to go ahead and do a quick revision of what we are be doing on our biblical integration for this week, we had talked about creation on Monday and how geometry has a lot to do with creation. So now, as we go into this idea of dilation and making something bigger and making something larger, we want to understand as well the big idea of geometry, and that geometry had existed from the beginning of time, even though when Adam and Eve were created, God didn't say, oh, you have to learn math and you have to learn trigonometry and you have to learn geometry. No, those were things that were included in nature and embedded in nature. And as man developed their intelligence and did researches and were investigating, then these things were uncovered. But it does not mean that they didn't exist before these people uncovered them. So now, as we were working with yesterday with scale factors, now to do a revision of what we were doing yesterday. When we scale up something, the bigger number goes at the top and the smaller number goes at the bottom. And when we scale down something, so from something big to something small, then the smaller number goes at the top and then the bigger number goes at the bottom. And then we do our reduction and canceling and whatever method you find best to make this fraction in its lowest terms. So now, as we were talking about this yesterday, this was the last section that we're gonna be working with together. Um, and this basically has a combination of what we were doing and what we have been doing. So let me switch to my Jamboard so that I can go ahead and write on it. So this is the first question, right? If you guys are looking at your worksheet, it's the first question.
Miss, do
Do
we
we
have
have
to
to
draw
draw
that
that
in a
in a graph sheet?
No, no. For this section, I believe that the instruction is asking you to state what the dilation is. So then there are two things that you have to do. You have to state if this is an enlargement or if it is a reduction. Enlargement, reduction. And then you have to give the value of k. So it's asking you guys for two things in this section. If you take a look at the table that is there, it just gives a diagram and then it gives you two spaces, one for the dilation and then one for the value of k. So then that is what we're going to be doing for each of these four questions. So everybody has that clear? You can
Yes,
begin.
miss.
Okay, good. So what dilation is happening there? Just by looking, where the original image is A and then the new image is B. So what is happening for you to go from A to B? Is it an enlargement or is it a reduction?
Reduction, miss.
A reduction, very good. So then that would be the first thing that we would be noting here, that this is a reduction, right? Now, after we have found out what the if what kind of dilation it is, now we have to go ahead and find the scale factor. If we take a look at this question though, what do I need so that I'm able to calculate for the scale factor? What were we using yesterday to do calculations?
The coordinates, miss?
The coordinates, very good. Though, do you have coordinates for A and B? Anybody? Does the question give you
Yes, miss.
coordinates?
Yes, we do.
Let me see if I can
No way.
zoom this a little bit. You have to find it. Very good. The diagram is there. It is in a Cartesian plane. It has the x and the y axis. So I can look at it and I can find out what the ordered pair will be. So that is what I'm going to be looking at, and that's what I'm going to be doing. Now we only need 1 point from A and we need 1 point from B. But these 1 points have to reflect the exact same location on both of these diagrams, right? So let's take a look at that. Let's say that I want to use this point over here. If I'm going to be using this point on the new image, I also need to use that exact same point, which is going to be this one. I cannot use two different points on that diagram. I have to use the original one and where that new one ended up. All right. So if I look at shape A, what is the coordinates of that point that I have marked? Of this one, what's the coordinates of that one?
-3. Oh,
Where is it on the
3 miss.
x-axis?
0, 3, miss.
0, 0, 3 miss.
0, 3. Very good. 0, 3. So my point here is gonna be 0 and 3. What about in B, in shape B? What is gonna be my point there now?
0, 1,
1.
miss.
0, 1. Okay, good. Everybody understood how we got those points?
Yes,
Yes,
miss.
Okay. Now, if I am doing a reduction, which number goes at the top? The smallest or the biggest one?
0, 3, miss.
0, 3 is the point of the larger image. Okay, this is for the bigger one.
miss. The smallest numbers go at the top.
This is for my bigger shape, right? And this is for my smaller shape. Now, looking at these points, I see that this is 0 and this is 0. 0 divided by 0, what does that give you?
0, miss.
Are you sure?
1, miss.
Are you sure?
0, miss.
We're not gonna go into that idea because we're gonna have a debate if 0 divided by 0 is 0 or if it's 1 or if it's undefined. But to avoid that issue when it comes to division, if I put 0 at the top or 0 at the bottom, which one is bigger or smaller? Both of them are the same thing. So we avoid trying to work with zeros. We work with the other 2 points. We work with 3 and with 1. If I look at number 3 and if I look at number 1, which one is supposed to go at the top and which one is supposed to go at the bottom?
3 miss.
3 goes where?
At the top miss.
Are you sure?
At the bottom miss. Miss from small to big miss.
When we are reducing, the
Miss,
smaller
the
number
smaller
goes
number
at
goes
the
at the
top
top.
and the bigger number goes at the bottom. So my value for k is 1 over 3. I can't reduce 1 over 3. I can change it to a decimal. But if we do that, you're going to get 0.3333, never ending 3. So we want to avoid that as well. And we leave our scale factor as 1 over 3. Any question? This is learning activity number 1. Any questions, guys? Yes, I am recording. I think yes, I'm recording. Okay. Was it clear? Can I move on? Do I need to repeat?
Wait, miss, can you repeat it? It froze.
Okay, sure. Um, we identified that from shape A going to shape B, I am reducing because I went from a big image to a small image. So I identified that first part. Next, I have to find points. So I found 2 points, one from the big image and one from the small image, because I need to solve for the scale factor. Then I use 0.301 to find the value of k. We avoid the zeros. Never try to work with zeros, especially if you are unsure, if your answer is undefined, if it's zero, if it's one, if it's infinity. You need to be very careful. So we avoid working with zeros and we decide that we want to work with 3 and the 1. All right? Looking at the 3 and the 1 and knowing that this is a reduction, I go back to the formulas that we were using yesterday, where in reduction, the smaller number goes at the top and the bigger number goes at the bottom. And if I have 3 and if I have 1, then 1 goes at the top and 3 goes at the bottom. And the value of k for this question is 1 over 3. Yes? Clear, guys?
Yes, yes, miss.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
miss.
So now looking at the second question. Image A is the original and image B is the new one. So what is happening in this problem?
Enlargement.
Enlargement.
Enlargement, very good. Mm,
Miss,
yes.
the only good thing about when it comes about this topic to dilation is like directly this right like A to B, right? The image.
Yes. So we did dilation separately. I didn't want to do dilation together with the other three. I did it on purpose because in the other three, your image, ends up somewhere else in your graph sheet. And then dilation, it's only zooming in and zooming out, right? So that's why I decided to do it separately. And this is a little bit more easier than the other ones, and it includes less graphing because here you have to be calculating a little bit more, especially with the scale factor. So that is one of the differences as well when it comes to dilation. So now everybody saw that this is an enlargement, right? From image A, we went to image B, so we zoomed up that image. And then now we have to find the scale factor. What do I need to find the scale factor?
Find the points, miss.
We find the points. Very good. And in this case, try to find vertices, right? Try to find points that are corners. You can, like, for example, I can find that one, but how will I know where that is exactly on this other shape? Right? So always try to find corners, the points of the corners of the shape, so that you know, okay, this is exactly this one. So I'm gonna find this one and I'm gonna find this one, those two. If I look at shape A, what is that coordinate?
Two, miss.
2, 2, very good. And what about this one in B?
Five.
It's gonna be 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. Very good. Okay, now we are working with enlargement. What number goes at the top? The smaller one or the bigger one?
Bigger one.
The bigger one, miss.
The bigger one. Very good. And in this case, if we take a look at our numbers, we have 5 and 2 and then 5 and 2. So I can use any one of those. So they're exactly the same. right? So the bigger one goes at the top, so that will be 5. And the smaller number goes at the bottom, and that will be 2. I do not
What
leave
is
my answer like this. Yes, Cesar.
what is para enlargement ¿cómo se llama? El grande para arriba y el chico abajo.
Yeah. So it's the opposite of reduction.
Okay.
So I cannot and try not to leave your answers as an improper fraction, right? If I were to convert this, reduce it, or change it to a mix, or change it to a decimal, what would my answer be?
Two and a half is 2.5.
Very good. K would be equal to 2.5 or to 2.5, whichever one, right? You don't have to write both of them, either one works. Questions? Is it clear?
Miss, that is the answer.
Yes, because when we find the 5 over 2, that's the value of k, so that's the scale factor. Remember though that you have to put enlargement and the scale factor. Don't only put the scale factor, you have to put both of them. Questions, guys? Do I move on?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Following question. Okay. A to B. Look at image A and look at image B. What happened in this image?
Reduction.
A reduction. Very good. So I write reduction. I have the reduction. Now I need to find the points. All right. Now looking at the points, I can choose any corner at all. I'm gonna choose this one, and I'm gonna choose that one. Same corner in both places. What is going to be the point for the corner of image A?
Negative 3,
Negative
negative 3.
3, negative 3.
Very good. -3, -3. And what about the image in B?
Negative 1,
Negative
negative
1,
1.
-1.
-1, -1. Very good. Now, this is a reduction. All right. So, which one goes at the top?
1.
Negative 3, miss.
The negative 1 is
Which one? Which one?
the negative 1 is
Are you sure?
Negative
Yes.
3.
Okay. Now, you can be able to do some mental math and mental analysis here. If I look at -1 and I look at -3, and I have a reduction, I know that my answer has to be what? If you have a reduction, what does your answer have to be?
Fraction.
Fraction.
A fraction. Very good. So if I put the 3 at the top and the 1 at the bottom, is my answer going to be a fraction?
No, miss.
If I put the 1 at the top and the 3 at the bottom, is my answer going to be a fraction?
Yes, miss.
So now, yesterday, if we take a look, remember what we did yesterday? Yesterday, we had a question that had negative numbers, right?
Yes, miss.
But yesterday's question was one of a unique, an exception to the rule. In math, and I know that it's something that a lot of people dislike about math, there is always an exception to the rule. Just like in English, there is an exception to the rule. Certain things are not spelled that certain way. Yesterday's question was an exception to the rule. And I put it there because our answer had to be a certain form. But when we are working with scale factor, I want you guys to ignore the positive or the negative signs, because positive and negative signs are things that confuse students, especially when you're looking for which number is smaller and which number is bigger. Negative 3 is smaller than negative 1. So negative 3 should go at the top. But if I do negative 3 over negative 1 and I reduce that, I get a 3. But if it's a reduction, my scale factor cannot be 3 because it doesn't match. So, what I want you guys to do whenever we're working with scale factors, always work with only the numbers and avoid, well, ignore the negatives or the positives for finding the scale factor only. When it comes to plotting the points, of course, those are very important. But in this case, we just want to use the numbers, because if I were to put negative 3, which is smaller, over negative 1, which is bigger, I'm going to get 3. But my answer cannot be 3 because mathematically that's not correct. Everybody's understanding what I'm saying? Like,
Yes, ma'am.
yes? So, if I'm only looking at the numbers, 1 and 3, which one is supposed to go at the top?
One. Three, miss.
What, miss?
1. And 1 and 3, which one is bigger?
Three, miss.
3.
3. So what is your scale factor?
One third.
1/3. Very good. And 1/3 is the value of k for this question. Is it clear, guys? Do I need to repeat? Or do I move on?
Clear terms.
Clear.
Okay, this is the last one. From image A to image B, what happened in this case?
Enlargement.
Enlargement.
Enlargement. Very good. Enlargement. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay. This shape has 5 vertices. I have so many options to be choosing a point from. I'm going to be using these ones, right? What is the coordinates of point A that I have circled?
Two, miss.
Very careful with the drawing. Take a look at right here. I have 6. And I have 1, 2.
Five.
Look at where the point is. The point is halfway of one of these
4
spaces.
is 4 for something.
If this is 6, what is
4.5, 4.5, miss.
take let me zoom in more so that you guys can see this question. I don't think I can. Yeah, here we have 6. Everybody sees the 6, but we only have 1, 2, 3 spaces. So how much does each space represent?
2.
2. Very good. So that means that here we have 2 and here we have 4. So what is in between 2 and 4?
3.
3. Very good. And if I apply the same on the y-axis, what is this point going to be?
And 3.
A 3 as well. So now if I take a look at B, what is this point going to be?
4.
And then on the y?
4.
4 as well.
4 as well. Very good. Now, if I'm taking a look at my scale factor, this is an enlargement. What number goes at the top?
4.
4. Very good, because 4 is bigger. So I am going to have 4 at the top. And then at the bottom,
3.
the 3. Very good. And if I reduce that,
1/1/3, miss.
1 and 1/3. and that is going to give me my scale factor. Questions?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, I need you guys to have your graph sheet. I had asked you guys for a graph sheet.
Miss, eso no lo teníamos que hacer, pues, miss.
What do you mean?
Eso que hicimos ahorita, que estaba haciendo usted, no lo teníamos que hacer. Solo era review.
That was from activity 1. I had said in the beginning when somebody asked that you're not supposed to graph those ones because the question only
We are not
asks
supposed to graph.
the ones that we
We were
just
not
did.
supposed.
You were not supposed to graph them.
Okay. Okay, miss.
This one that we're going to be doing right now, learning activity 2, section 1. You need a graph sheet. Everybody needs a graph sheet. Your Cartesian plane should be on that graph sheet. Everybody has a graph sheet? Can I explain what you're going to be doing?
Yes, miss.
Activity 2, miss.
Yep, this is activity 2. We're already finished with activity 1. Everybody has graph sheet?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss. Yes.
Okay, good. Your graph sheet should have a Cartesian plane and you need to do it full page size. So you're going to count for it to be symmetrical on your graph sheet. You count 13 spaces down from the top. Your graph sheet count 13 little boxes and you draw your x-axis. And then from the side, you count 10 little boxes and then you draw your vertical line. So your y-axis should reach all the way up to positive 13 and negative 13, and then your x-axis should reach up to positive 10 and negative 10. That's supposed to fit on your graph sheet. All right, let me know when I can continue. Quickly do that.
Miss, no tiene example con observaciones.
If I have an example, let me open my right now. I think I can open another blank one. Okay. Everybody can see my matigan? Yes? Okay. So your graph sheet is supposed to look like this. All right? Has little boxes. You guys are going to be creating your Cartesian plane. All right? Now your Cartesian plane is supposed to reach all the way to 12 or 13 on your paper. Right? Because your paper should give. So you're going to count from where your graph sheet begins. You're going to count 13 little boxes and then you're going to draw this line. So it should reach up to positive 13 at the top and it should reach up to negative 13 at the bottom because that is how big your page is.
Miss,
Yes.
miss, I have I printed my one, but I just have it just reaches to it.
Your graph sheet? Your graph sheet only reaches to 8, Aimer?
Yes, miss. Cause how you call it? I printed, miss.
Oh, you printed it. Okay, so in that case, you would have to do one little box to represent 2. So your sheet would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
Okay, miss.
If not, I'm doing it in the box. If not, then you won't be able to plot everything. Because if you take a look at the coordinates that I have given you, the biggest coordinate is 0, 12. So it has to reach up to 12. So your coordinate sheet should look something like this, where it reaches up to 12 and then it has on the sides. right? That is how your graph sheet should look like. Okay, let me check the chat. On 13 on each side. You should give you 13 on the top, 13 at the bottom, and then 10 on the left and 10 on the right. If you're using a normal graph sheet, right? If your graph sheet is smaller than that, then you would have to use a scale. Yes, Jamar.
Ya puede, Miss.
You have your coordinate plane?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, good. So now that you have your coordinate plane, I want you guys to plot these points. So these points, you're going to plot them, you're going to label them. So you find 0, 12, 0 on the x-axis and 12 on the y-axis, and you label it A. And then you go ahead and you plot all of them. In the end, I'll give you some time to do that. We have like 4 more minutes. Go ahead and plot these 10 points. When you plot the 10 points, you connect them and it should give you a shape.
Miss, ¿cuántos cuadritos eran, Miss? 13 y 10, ¿verdad?
They're 10 points, 10 coordinates. It's 13 at the top, so you reach up to positive 13, and then you reach up to negative 13 at the bottom. Then on the left, you get your left, you will get negative 10, and then on your right, you will get positive 10. Anybody finish with their diagram?
May
Yes.
this F will 3 will be on the y-axis, right?
For F,
Mm-hmm.
-3 will be on the y-axis, yes.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I'm looking at the time. It's 11:26. If you are not finished plotting it, please make sure that you finish plotting it. It should give you a shape, and let me show you guys what it should look like. So if you don't get this, then that means that something happened to your diagram. This is what it should look like. All right, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and then you connect it back to A. And this should be an entire graph sheet size. That it should look like that. All right. So this is what you guys are supposed to have plotted. And then we're gonna start off tomorrow's class, finishing this one. What I want you guys to do as an assignment, though, if you are able to do it, find what the new points are going to be. Let me share. So this question is asking you guys to do it as a scalar factor of a half. So I want you guys to multiply each of these numbers by a half, and you're gonna get a new set of points. So then tomorrow it's gonna be a little bit faster for us to identify what the new points are gonna be. So each of these 0 times half, 12 times half, that is gonna give you a new point. -3 times half, 5 times half, that is gonna give you a new point. And in most of these questions, you're gonna get decimal points. So that's why also it's good to have it page size so that you can see where the decimal point is gonna be. Any questions, guys? Everybody understands what I'm asking you guys to do?
Yes, miss.
Okay, good. So you guys are free to leave, and I will be seeing you guys tomorrow.
Okay, miss. Bye.
Bye, miss. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, miss.
Bye.
Bye, miss.
Bye.
Bye, miss.
Bye.
Bye, miss.
Bye, guys.